Whoa! Everyone needs to call their Dem senator right now. They're starting to cave. Tell them, vote no on cloture. Cloture. Okay, I don't know the parliamentarian rules, but this is what I was kind of like wondering, because they said they needed like 60 votes in the Senate in order to pass it, but can't you do no? And like, if you vote down this, or if you vote yes on cloture, that's killing the filibuster for that, right? That's what that means, right? Have you watched the Sabine video on America and Europe? No, because I don't know about her all the time, and I don't know enough to like debunk or not debunk, so I get... I'm not buying it. Nah, I'm not buying it. Where's the crypto? No shot. I'm not buying it. I am still firmly and solidly on team no way. On team no shot. No shot.
Schumer is a Palestinian, and Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. You know, he's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
This is so wild, bro. This week I almost died. Nearly losing my life made me rethink my perspective on what I'm doing here, and I'm changing my approach. I'm done gatekeeping. It's time I finally give you what you've always wanted. Lips reveal. Unlock for $50. Is this real? Or is this... Did anybody confirm if this is real? Or is this just like a fucking... It has been confirmed. The message has been confirmed, or the lips have been confirmed? I'm just kidding. Jesus.
Oh my gosh, Dad.
Oh, we already watched this.
How'd you get this? Mom said there was no way. This is so cool. It's all I wanted.
And guess what? I'm this close to getting us a house. So next time you visit, you can have a little sleepover if you want.
Are you serious, Dad?
We're finally gonna be together again. Isn't that great?
Billy, what are you doing here? You have your hour with her next week.
It's a Christmas party. The whole family's here. Couldn't be without Dad, right?
Okay, you know what the court said? I can call the cops if I want.
Jesus.
We're not calling the cops.
I'm not.
It's Christmas,
Don't.
Eileen.
Just
Have a sweet dance a little.
Hey,
Jesus Christ.
Billy, come on. Do us both a favor. Come back tomorrow. You can have some alone time with Stephanie.
Justin, why don't you do us a favor and go spend Christmas with your own fucking family?
All right, come on, let's go.
Ooh.
Billy, you got her the PS5? They're like $2,000 on eBay right now. How about a mortgage payment instead?
I paid the last 2 months.
You paid the last 2 months? What about the other 10 months? I'm on my fucking own over here, man.
Wow, you see how she treats you, Justin? She has no respect for you.
We're fine. The only time we fight is when you're in our house.
You don't know what you don't know. My name's still on this deed after all. I still own this home.
Yeah, but you don't pay for it.
Because I'm not liquid.
Yeah, well, you paid for the PS5, big guy.
I paid for that with crypto, okay?
Crypto, oh my God.
Wait, is this a different crypto heist movie, or what? Did we watch a different trailer?
Seriously, talking about make-believe money? Can I sit on your lap, tell you what I would like for Christmas, Santa? I would like somebody to show up for their fucking daughter. I would like some money, some real money, not this fucking make-believe Bitco that you got floating up in your sled somewhere. And I would like, I would like the last 12 years of my life back. Can you give me the last 12 years of my life back? Can you? Can you do that for me? You can't? Then get the fuck out of my house. I'm so fucking over you.
No, don't take her away. She needs to see how her mom treats me.
Come on, let's keep it tranquilo, man.
Oh, wow, this guy, Jesus.
Is this the same? Is this the same movie? What? What? What do you want?
Oh, hi, babe. Hi, baby. Hi, my baby. Oh, hello, baby. Oh, baby. Oh.
Okay. Stop. Finally, we get some transparency Doge has saved. What in the unholy hell is this website? What the fuck? What? What do we look? What is this? What? I feel like there have been plenty of websites that have been made before. So why not just like... why are we reinventing the wheel here? This is so unresponsive. Look at the color palette. Yeah, red, white, and blue. That's for America. Okay. Itemize savings. Click. Oh, this is supposed to be an enemy website to track how bad Doge is doing. Who made this website though? Ugh. It literally embeds with worse performance. Oh, what is this? There must be a way to make this more responsive, no? Tweet from creator. The Doge website is garbage. The claimed savings is no relationship with the data provided, and the data that is provided grossly inflates the savings from each canceled contract. So we just launched our own site, the must-watch Doge tracker that breaks every out. Okay, make a better website. Do you think Khalil shouldn't get deported? No. He shouldn't get deported.
I've had a number of people reach out and ask why it seems like the current administration has abandoned Ukraine and our commitments to NATO. First, the U.S. cuts off arms sales. Now they're restricting intelligence access to NATO. Now, it took me a while, but I did speak with some people with knowledge of the administration. I also spoke with some people in the intelligence community, people who are apolitical the way many of us intel guys are, because, when you work in intelligence, even as a contractor, you literally can't be political. You give advice to whoever is in power. They deserve the best intelligence and the best analysis without any kind of political bias.
Okay, just as a quick thing. So I hear people say this a lot. Like, oh no, like when you work in the military, when you work in intelligence, oh, you're not supposed to be political. Like you can't talk about your opinions, blah, blah, blah. I hear this. It sounds like some shit where it's like, okay, I'm sure that they say that, but I'm sure that like everybody knows or whatever, right? I've had so many people email me that apparently when you work in these orgs, when you work in the military, when you work in the CIA, like nobody talks about politics. It's just like, it's considered like super faux pas. I don't know if anybody else has any different perspectives on that, but that is true. That apparently people just don't talk politics in these places, and you don't really know what people think or whatever. I guess maybe there might be an exception to that, but I've gotten so many different people from military and from intelligence services that have like emailed me saying more or less the same. So I think that's true.
Speaking of good advice, I was just in Europe for this whirlwind NATO tour. I was in France, Poland, Romania, Germany. Well, I have Verizon as my cell provider, and every time I touch down in a different country, I paid $12 for data. My whole trip was $120 for 10 days. And if I had just used the Saley eSIM, I would have only paid $33 for the entire month. I mean, it's too late now. But I can tell you this, the next time I go to Europe, I'm going to use Saley. See, you download the Saley.
Don't we want people to actively go against Trump? Isn't this harder? People don't speak about politics. The problem is you have to be really careful not to give the impression of impropriety. Remember, Peter Strzok was kicked from an investigation for the appearance of impropriety, and people use that to attack the Mueller investigation. Trump did by saying, oh, look, these, all these guys are out to get me because they hate me personally. When just because Peter Strzok had texted, I think he was talking to somebody on his phone, he had texted like, oh, don't worry, like we wouldn't let somebody like Trump like take the office because Trump was shitting on all of our fucking military and all of our all of our federal workers at the time. But that message, the Republicans tried to basically wield that message claiming, look, see, he's biased. He hates Trump. All of our intelligence just hate Trump. That's why they're going after him so much. So you have to be really careful for that.
Hi, baby. Oh, hi, baby.
With the book we're reading, I think what stands out as a difference between 20th century and 21st century fascism is that modern day fascists aren't nearly as violent. They talk a bunch of shit, but rarely do anything violent. That's true. I need to be so careful on my timelines, but I think there are a couple of huge differences. So for World War I, Germany just came out of a big war. I think that, oh fuck, this is so hard to quantify, but Europe's relationship with violence is probably going to feel a lot different than America's relationship with violence, just because in Europe, you're fighting oftentimes like on your territory, or like people are going to war and coming back in countries that, you know, you could train or drive to in 2 hours. Like the violence and the war and everything is so much more like in your face, I would imagine. And obviously there was a lot more conflict and violence. So the societies might be a bit more prone to it, like coming right out of World War I. And then for Germans in particular, there was that, you've got so much going on after the war, right? Your parts of the territory had literally been stripped from Germany. What part of Germany was considered the Rhineland? Like, I know you had that cut up where Prussia was in order to, give Poland access to is it the North Sea? I don't know what's up there north of Germany. For a while, the French came in and they occupied part of the Ruhr in order to basically extract as much money from them as they could to pay off the war reparation shit. The inflation was starting, like the hyperinflation, and that was like super duper bad. So, I mean, there were the conditions in post-World War I Germany were really, really brutal for a variety of reasons. Like we read that one passage where a guy would go to buy a coffee in the morning and he would pay for it. You have to pay for the coffee right as you got it, because if you wait to pay until afterwards, it might be like 3 times more expensive. Like,
app before you go. You sign up, you pick a plan. If you have like a regional plan, you plan to visit multiple countries, you don't need to switch plans. It's pretty convenient. And Saley has basically pre-negotiated data rates with other carriers. If you're going on a 7-day cruise to the Caribbean, you can do 28 countries for $15 for like a 7-day cruise. Verizon's travel pass is $12 a day. So
and they should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy. And they should.
Okay. It seems like the Democrat strategy is to not be too vocal and let the Republicans make themselves look bad. What do you think about this? I thought it was a bad idea. I still kind of think it's a bad idea, but it might be a good idea. I don't know. I guess I can understand maybe the thinking where if it is the case, like, I mean, it's back to that old adage, if it's the economy, stupid. Like, if they do things to fuck with the markets and the economy, people will notice and they will lose. That's just a fact. There's no escaping that reality. However, I'm just a fan of like causing moments where you have the camera on you and then capitalizing on those moments. But I guess there's a world where the Republicans are fucking up and people don't notice the Republicans are fucking up because the Democrats are taking too much of the spotlight. I don't know. It's a hard answer. Or it's a hard question, I guess, a difficult question, because you could always see things going either way.
Why wouldn't you use this? You know, it would have literally paid for itself in 2 days had I used it in Europe. So get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley eSIM data plans. Download the Saley app and use code Macbeth at checkout, or scan the code on screen right now and get started today. Now I'm going to start with an uncomfortable truth. A lot of what we see in Ukraine today is a result of 3 things. The botched pullout from Afghanistan, the previous administration never making a strong case for supporting Ukraine, and slow-walking weapons shipment.
Fuck, holy shit, I super disagree with all 3 of these. I don't think the pullout from Afghanistan had anything to do with Russia's decision to. Russia was always invading Ukraine if they weren't able to just completely dominate in the Donbass. I think that was always happening. No strong cases for Ukraine's support. I feel like the U.S. made the strongest case they could, but that we're divided so much. Republicans just weren't on board with it. I feel like it's a difficult position to be in. How can the U.S. leader make a case to the world when half of our population at home is brainwashed on some like anti-Ukrainian Russian propaganda shit? For slow walking arms to Ukraine, I go back and forth on this, and I know that nowadays we really want to criticize the administration for slow walking arms to Ukraine. And I go back and forth like, yeah, we probably should make things available sooner, or maybe not. one argument, I don't remember if this was brought up on stream or if somebody emailed me. One argument, though, is that we really didn't know how Ukraine would perform during the war. Like, nobody really had any expectations or understandings of how protracted the conflict could get. And the idea that in the beginning, if we would have shipped a fuck ton of weapons to Ukraine immediately, and then they lost in 2 weeks anyway, and then Russia takes all those arms, and it's like, okay, wait, why did we do this? Everybody would be looking at us going like, excuse me, why did you think Ukraine would ever have a chance to beat Russia in war? Why do you think the Ukrainian military would be able to utilize your weapons? Why did you think you'd be able to, like, Ukraine was one of the most corrupt countries in Eastern Europe for how long? Why would you just unlock your whole military to them? Are you fucking retarded? That's what people would be saying now. So I'm sympathetic to waiting like a little bit, just to see how they could use them. Although I do agree at some points it became like very cucked, like not allowing them to strike into Russian territory, for instance, was fucking retarded, I think. But yeah.
And you can like that or not. You can threaten to unsubscribe. I've heard it all. I'm just the messenger. And the truth is that I'm going to talk to you the same way I talk to my clients who pay me money to say this stuff. I've had clients threaten to leave too, but they always seem to keep writing the checks. So here's the hard truth. There is no reason why we should have left Afghanistan. I know people love to scream, endless wars, but we were fine in Afghanistan. In the 17 months before we left, the U.S. had zero combat deaths. The Afghan military was holding the line. All they needed was American air support, advisory, and technical expertise. And I get it. Our administration at the time said, oh, our hands are tied because of the deal. The Taliban broke the deal multiple times. We still left.
The issue, in my opinion, is, I mean, people call it mission creep. We just didn't have a clear goal in Afghanistan. I think that was always the problem. Like, okay, you don't want to leave Afghanistan because you think we can make a better government than the Taliban. Sure, maybe. But that wasn't the original mission in Afghanistan. And I don't know if anybody really had a clear idea of what the mission in Afghanistan even was. Was the goal to make it a mini democracy or a democratic country in the Middle East with indefinite support from the United States forever? Was that really truly the goal? I don't know if everybody would have been on board with that. I don't know if even our own military thought that was the goal. So, I mean, that's, yeah.
And when we did, I guarantee you President Putin was watching. Because what he saw was America cutting and running when our allies needed us the most. It didn't matter if it made strategic sense to stay. It didn't matter if Afghanistan gave us another permanent foothold against China.
Wasn't the goal just keeping stability in the area? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question. I don't think anybody knows what the fuck the goal was.
We left, and we left our allies to die. And I think that planted a little seed in President Putin's head. All he needed to do was keep up the pressure, use propaganda and useful idiots to make Ukraine the bad guy, and the U.S. would cut and run from Ukraine and Europe just like we did in Afghanistan. Now, the current administration sees what's happening through the lens of grand strategy. And you might not like this perspective, but I believe this is the perspective, and it's a very calculated risk. Since 2016, the United States has told Europe to get its defensive act together. They haven't. Since 2014, we've told Europe, stop buying Russian gas. They bought more. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, many NATO countries wrung their hands instead of acting decisively. Some still can't find 2% of their economy to put towards the military, and it's been 3 years. And I don't believe a single new munitions factory has been built in Europe since the war started. That's kind of on them. So part of this is the administration saying, no more free rides. China is rising. The U.S. needs to shift its focus to the Pacific. And
do you think the idea that propping up Afghanistan and nation building into democracy fell flat because there wasn't much point when Israel already existed? No, I think it fell flat because we just never knew what we were doing there. I feel like a lack of clear direction for what the goal even is a big problem.
Ukraine got caught in the middle of realpolitik. Back in 1862, Abraham Lincoln wrote to newspaper editor and abolitionist Horace Greeley, where he said, if I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. If I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. That, in a nutshell, is what is happening to Ukraine and Europe right now. The administration's position seems to be, if we can deter China without saving Ukraine, we will. If we can deter China by saving Ukraine, we will. And if we can deter China by letting Russia take some of Ukraine, we will. Because to the current administration, China is the real threat. President Xi has told the PLA to be ready by 2027 to take Taiwan by force. They're already building the landing ships. And right now, the U.S. has about 84,000 troops stationed in Europe, including an armored brigade in Bulgaria that isn't very useful for fighting China. So what happens if Europe takes the driver's seat? Well, then the 173rd Airborne could come home, or maybe to a permanent base like the Philippines. Some of our light and airborne units that are on rotation can come back to the U.S. or maybe head over to Asia. Maybe we keep one armored brigade on a rotation in Europe. You know, for the longest time, I have said that Russia literally can't stop this war because the second they do, their economy collapses. Worst case scenario is that the war goes on and Russia breaks up into a bunch of feuding warlord states that just so happen to have nuclear weapons. The last time Russia collapsed was in 1991. It was manageable, and back then we called it the Soviet Union. But today, the administration may be calculating that a collapsing Russia plus a rising China equals disaster. So the current administration might think that it is better to force Ukraine into a peace deal, even if it isn't good for Ukraine, remove sanctions on Russia, let Russia soft land so that Putin is still in power and the nuclear weapons are safe, you have no warlord states, and then pivot everything to China. That is a strategy, but here's the problem. Our batting average at defending liberty sucks right now. As Americans, that's supposed to be our jam. You know, we hung the Kurds out to dry, we left our Afghan partners to die, and now we're walking away from Ukraine and maybe Europe. So if you're Taiwan, the Philippines, Japan, Korea, Australia.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, like, and I love my Ukrainian friends, and I think that abandoning Ukraine is wrong, even in this type of strategic environment, if everything he was saying was true. But where is the administration's commitment then to the allies that we should already have, right? Like, if the goal is to gear up for some kind of protracted conflict with China, why aren't we doing everything we can to shore up our alliances with Mexico and Canada or the rest of Europe? Like, there are ways that you can do this that don't involve you setting on fire every single positive relationship you have. I don't see any benefit whatsoever to this. And like, it's one thing if you're a dumb fuck American and you think that the president tweeting shit is just like epic and based and it doesn't matter. But to the rest of the world, your words matter. Words do matter. What you say matters, and how you treat people matters. And the idea that the president can just constantly chastise and scream at and belittle and patronize and condescend to all these European countries and then expect them to just be chilling on your side. Like, these countries are all, for better or for worse, they're all democracies. And the people in these countries see those statements. You know, it might be that you think that like Canadians booing Americans at hockey games is just kind of like fun memes for Reddit. But remember, Canadians vote for their leaders. And if the leaders see that the population is not happy with America, and the population is voting on the fact that they're not happy with America, then the leaders aren't going to do things that are nice towards America. Like, these things matter. It feels fucking retarded that I even have to say this, but like, yeah, you can't treat people like shit and expect them to stick around for you.
Can you trust the U.S.? Because right now it seems like the answer is no. Because if we can turn off weapons aid to Ukraine, we can turn off aid to anyone.
Also, a lot of people are posting in chat that apparently Europe has increased its ammunition manufacturing, but...
And alliances, they only work if we're consistent. The scary part to me is that I could see Europe or even Five Eyes countries stopping the sharing of intelligence with the United States because they're afraid that this intelligence is either inadvertently or intentionally going to be leaked to Russia. And it's scary because we need our partners to get information for us from people who won't necessarily give it to us. The other issue here is weapon systems are expensive, and they get cheaper when large orders are placed. So when our allies order weapon systems from the United States,
and everybody's using the same systems,
to keep the production lines open when other countries purchase our weapons. But if we break that trust, if we threaten to turn orders off on a whim, why would anyone ever buy weapon systems from us again? This
is one of the reasons too. This is why I don't even have these conversations, because conservatives don't even defend Trump policy. So it feels like a weird waste of time because I don't even know who I'm arguing with. But like, let's say that Trump really truly did want to bring manufacturing back to America. Okay, everybody knows my position on this. It's fucking stupid. But let's say that he really did want to do that. There are effective ways to do that, and there are stupid ways to do that, right? An effective way would be with a real, actual, bilateral trade agreement with another country, or with multilateral trade agreements establishing that manufacturing will be back in America, or setting some local economic agenda that includes permanent tariffs that would protect manufacturing in America, or at least the kind that maybe Canada had with certain quotas being met. These would be things that would lead to an increase in investment in manufacturing in the United States. Even if I think that's stupid, that would work. But the tariff on and off, people just don't understand how cancerous uncertainty is in a business environment, in any environment. Nobody wants uncertainty. It's so bad. It's such a horrible thing for everybody. Like, Trump keeps thinking that people are going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Who the fuck would invest hundreds of billions of dollars in a country that might turn on or off tariffs on the whim of whoever the U.S. president is during the same U.S. presidency, right? What? Like, it's such a stupid approach. Even if you wanted to protect local industry, it's such a stupid way to do it.
Not only hurts the U.S. and the defense industry, it also makes our weapon systems more expensive in the long run. And ultimately, we build less stuff. The United States is at a crossroads. Are we the nation that stands up for liberty, or are we the nation that walks away when it's inconvenient? Because if we keep proving to the world that we're unreliable, that we'll cut and run when things get tough, why would anyone ever stand with us when we need them? Taiwan is watching, the Philippines are watching, Japan is watching, South Korea and Australia, they're all watching. And what happens the moment they think that a deal with China is better than a deal with the U.S.?
Yep.
If we keep signaling...
But the problem is we take that for granted. We just take it for granted. Why would a country ever sign with China or fucking Russia over the United States? Why would you ever do that? Clearly nobody would ever do that, right? We just take it for granted because in the past there really was no reason to, but you're giving people a reason to reconsider, and it's just unbelievable. For no reason. Nothing has happened.
We're willing to who's going to stand with us when we're the ones in need? Get my Intel Life t-shirt at Bunker Branding. Got hoodies there too. Thank you for watching.
In a world where fashion meets firepower, where style becomes strategy, it's time to gear up for the ultimate mission with Bunker Branding. Introducing the Rock Out With Your Chalk Out t-shirt, a tribute to the fearless...
Hi, I'm Canadians. I understand the 30% tariffs on dairies thing is kind of true. Somehow, I think it might not be as much of a deal as Trump says. Why is it 30% tariffs on dairies is much less trouble than 20% tariffs on steel, for example? So I believe that the way that it works is in some markets, what you do is in order to make it so that your local manufacturing is not being completely destroyed, you have a quota set so that if so much of another country's exports are taking over a part of your market, then you start to bump tariffs up in order to make it so that your local manufacturing or your local production is still alive, basically. Now, to be clear, this year, the U.S. hasn't tripped any of those quotas at all for Canada. So there is no 250% tariff right now on dairy for anything in Canada. But some people will have things that, like, let's say that you're starting to import. I'm in guesswork here, but my guess is, let's say that you find that you can import every single year all of your dairy from the United States. Well, your own dairy manufacturing is just going to stop. Your farmers go, okay, well, this is fucking retarded. Why the fuck am I going to bother making anything? But then let's say there's a year or two where there's like a dairy. Well, Canada can't just spin up a dairy industry immediately. Now they have no milk at all. They have no dairy products. They're fucked. Now, these types of tariffs that are like quota based, they were already negotiated with Canada. Like, this was part of the U.S.-Mexico Canada trade agreement. We'd already negotiated these. We were fine with these. Trump already negotiated these. These were fine. They were already built into the trade. So no, there aren't like an automatic 250% tariff. There isn't an automatic huge tariff on all the dairy stuff. These were just quotas that if they'd imported too much from the United States, they would eventually turn on.
air cavalry. Feel the adrenaline rush as you don the pride of the skies. For those of you who dare from the air, precision and power unite when you think outside the bomb. And don't miss our Live, Laugh, Launch t-shirts for Patriot and HIMARS, because sometimes defending freedom means bringing the thunder. Finally, for the true defender of the seas, we present Department of the Boat People. Sail with honor and show your allegiance to the world's mightiest maritime force. With these shirts, hoodies, and stickers, along with the tow missile, landmines, and drone warfare. These aren't just shirts, they're statements. They're your way of saying I stand for strength, unity, and style. Get yours at Bunker Branding today.
Somebody asked me, is this about thing about BLM true?
Spent $100,000 on a trip to Disney once. How much have you spent on charitable causes this year? Let's start cooking these pancakes.
This year technically just started, so this year, I mean, like, it's hard to.
What about last year?
Well, last year, it's hard to gauge.
All right. So what about the year before last year?
Oh, well, that year, that's a good year. Yeah, it's just blurry. I be doing so much.
BLM? Since you want to be so black power?
BLM is a scam.
Clip that.
Wait, am I crazy? I might be wrong on this Destiny, but I think it's the inverse. The quota trips after a certain amount of tariff-free imports from Canada, not imports to Canada from America. You mean exports from Canada? I don't know what imports from Canada means. At Destiny, the quota applies to Canadian dairy farmers too, which results in extra dairy products being disposed of and wasted needlessly every year. Complete free trade in our dairy market would not eliminate 100% of our dairy market. My understanding is it's very common. I think in the US, I'm pretty sure we do it a fuck ton as well, that the government always subsidizes local agriculture to some extent, such that there are usually wasted products. I mean, is it a lot or too much? Maybe in the US, I've heard that argument that it's too much, that farmers lobby a little bit too hard for it. I don't know what the actual answer is there, but I think it's pretty ordinary that there's a decent amount of agricultural waste because it's subsidized by the government to ensure that your agricultural industry is always like living.
Since you want to be so black power?
BLM is a scam.
Clip that. Send it to the fucking news.
BLM was literally a scam. They had bought mansions, and you probably wouldn't know anything about it because you don't care about black people. So
Ooh.
I do care about black people. Look at my chocolate. You're mad.
It's a disguise.
You're mad. I think I'm literally the most pro-black person in this room.
Because you have an all-white staff?
They're not white. They're POC. Okay. Thank you. What? Don't laugh.
I do have a gay, so I also am.
Gay?
The BLM org was a massive scam. That is true. It's pretty fucking disgusting that they did that. Those people should be. Nothing. I'm going to buy a Tesla or Destiny. Based. Does Tesla do its own in-house financing? What if we got like 10,000 people to finance Teslas and all of us to default on it? Based. What is the right's logic behind the stock market being a short-term loss in order for a long-term gain? I keep hearing this talking point, but with no explanation. Bro, they can explain anything they want. It's just going to be like imagine you have to invest initially in something. Of course, it's going to suck in the beginning, but then it gets better later. It's just no matter what happens, there will always be an explanation. No, change your mindset. That was BLM. No leaders rose up to take charge of that movement. It flubbed. Blame a lack of leaders. So BLM is exactly what is left over. The way that I heard this explained, I don't know if there's ever a consensus opinion on this or not, but the way I heard it explained was you don't want leaders now in movements, because the more decentralized they are, the harder it is to assassinate a movement based on like actually assassinating or character assassinating like a leader. Like if you get a leader to some movement and then it turns out that, oh, well, that leader's a rapist or something, now your whole movement is kind of fucked and everybody's like, oh, well, fuck this, I guess. I don't know if I don't know if all the black people like took a vote on that for BLM, or the white people. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that was like, if that's a widespread or commonly held belief, but that's how Antifa operates. Who? Oh, the people from 2016?
Hang on, what is going on here? Looks like this place has been shut down for months.
Oh my God, Dennis, listen to this. Reed Mental Institution was shut down because of statewide cutbacks. Oh, so they just cut all the loonies loose?
What? How could they do that? That's insane.
Wait, does that mean that MAGA is super vulnerable since it all revolves around Trump? Yes, we're going to be in a very interesting world when Trump is out of the presidency, because I don't know who the fuck those people are going to go to next. I've been a fan of Asmongold's general content. After the ban, I noticed a shift in his political views towards the right, the far right. I find it harder to connect with him now. Could you reform him? Any ideas? Asmongold has intentionally and deliberately avoided any conversations with me for a long time. That will never happen. I just don't think he wants to be challenged on it. Also, there is a massive, massive, massive reward right now for him having the beliefs that he does. So the idea that he would change up for any reason, bro, I can't even imagine. That guy's making 7 figures a month right now, probably.
Loose?
What? How could they do that? That's insane.
I guess it was either that or raise our taxes.
What? Raise my taxes? Come on. How much do these vultures need? I already pay a ton in taxes.
Well, then I guess they're gonna have to shut down more of these places.
What? Shut down more of these? We gotta have somewhere to send our lunatics.
Well, then we're going to have to pay more in taxes.
What? I'm not paying more in taxes, D. I won't do it. Don't speak of it again.
Can't have Pete wander in the streets. I don't want him near me. We gotta get him sent somewhere. Right. Ooh, what about that nut house in Westchester?
It says that one's been shut down too.
Oh, come on. I pay so much money in taxes already. Where's that going?
Well, they use that money to open up the Eagles' new practice facility.
That makes sense. That's kind of a no-brainer. We can't have our guys out there twisting ankles.
Yeah, man of Shady McCoy's abilities. He needs a proper landing strip.
Gotta get our maniacs and green set up in a nice facility.
Sophie's choice, huh? Oof. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Go Birds.
Have you seen Gary Economics at all? He was on Purist with Dave Rubin and did a great job keeping them on topic and from straying into culture wars talking points. Don't watch yesterday's stream. Oh man, right now there's 100 Destiny fans and they just woke up from a 48-hour coma saying, what year is it? Oh, it's March 12th? I can't wait to watch Destiny, my favorite streamer, go over my other favorite YouTuber, Gary's Economics. It's scary how accurate it is since the Eagles are going to the White House now, LeMayo. I hear so much, this was talk in Omaha, and there was some other city. I don't know why, but or maybe it just bled over from Omaha talk. But bro, if you've ever lived in a city that has a professional game stadium in it for like football or baseball or whatever, oh my God, those are some of your fiercest fucking local politics debates, and the teams are shameless with it. Like, hey, we want to have like a $50 trillion stadium in your, Midwestern city. It's like, oh yeah, cool. That's awesome. It'll bring a lot of business to us. Like our people love sports here. Our team is like based in this city, yeah. And they're like, okay, cool. But we need you to pay for it completely. And it's like, us, you mean like us, the city, pay for it? Or you mean like subset? No. Like you guys have to pay for it. Well, but aren't you guys like, you're the ones that have the teams there. You guys make all the money and everything, right? It's like, yeah, but if you're not going to pay for it, we can find someone else to just pay for the entire thing. It's like, well, that seems a little bit cuck, no? Hold on. I'm going to go talk to Chicago or Detroit. Well, okay, well, hold on. Oh man, those conversations were AIDS. To be fair, I wasn't Vyvanse back then, so I didn't dive into the specifics of it, but those were always like the most heated local fucking politics debates, were who's supposed to pay for stadiums, because cities apparently get mad because they have to subsidize it, but then business owners argue, well, it brings in a lot of business, which it does, but then people are like, well, but the owners of the teams and everybody, these guys are making money anyway, why can't they chip in? And it's like, well, I've been seeing Hasan fans and LSF trying to be revisionist and try to claim that Hasan supported Kamala during the election and told his fans to vote for her. Really? In what threads? According to Agriculture Canada, 15% of our total dairy market is imported, which means I have to pay higher prices so cows can be jerked off by Canadian dairy farmers. Why would you automatically assume that it costs more to buy local dairy in Canada than it would to import it? Importing is going to be, there's going to be a bit more cost incurred because of transportation costs. You don't think it's possible that Canadian local dairy farmers are competitive when you consider transportation, or? If Taiwan is expected to be invaded in 2027, is America genuinely going to contest it? Would that not just escalate into a world war? Surely that's what Trump is supposedly against. I don't know why we think that America is going to intervene if Taiwan is invaded, but that just might be a foreign politics issue that I haven't dug enough into or I don't understand. Because it feels to me right now like America is doing every single thing it can in order to be independent and not need Taiwan, right? That's why we're trying to onboard all of our own chip manufacturing and everything else and getting big investments from TSMC and whatever so that we can make it on. We don't have to worry about Taiwan. So,
economía por Trump. Did I forget the president? No, I did not forget the president. I voted for the president. I'm just not telling you who I voted for. I am not going to influence your opinion in any direction unless it is to vote por Trump, in which case I will tell you not to do it. Anyway. What? I'm shaking and crying right now. It's disgusting that you're calling him by that last name. You should be banned on this platform forever. Hashtag justice for Adam. Will you tell us after the election is over? Maybe. Anyway, where is it? Take a photo of it. You know what? I'm going to take a photo of it. And one day I'll release it to the world.
It's just so crazy to me, dude. The left is so fucked. Oh my God. Why would TSMC want to invest in the U.S. knowing that they're taking away the leverage that Taiwan has to entice the U.S. to defend them? I mean, is TSMC owned by Taiwan like the government, or is it just purely I don't know how they structure their business over there, but if you're like the company and you're the owners and everything, you don't give a fuck about Taiwan. You just want to make your money. If moving to the U.S. does that, then... Hasan calling you obsessed yesterday.
They're running.
God, he's so cringe. He's like such a cringe loser. I would pay we'd raise $1 million to send this dude to go fight in Yemen, and then all of us would volunteer for the Navy. Holy shit, he's such a cringe.
Destiny has for almost 5 years just obsessively talks about Hasan on his channel. He's made video after video about him. The frequency of these videos increased after Destiny was banned from Twitch. In the span of time since then, he has uploaded almost 80 videos about Hasan out of a total of like 450 videos. So that's at least 1/5 of his working life.
That is fucking crazy.
I've only uploaded 450 videos in the last 3 years? Is there a way to look? I feel like, doesn't my channel generally upload 1 video per day? I should have over 700, I would imagine. I don't know if there's a way to look it up. Oh, and I've got 3 different channels. I wonder if he's drawing from my Last Night on Destiny channel too.
Aggressively talks about Hasan out of a total of like 450 videos. So that's at least 1/5 of his working life.
That is fucking crazy. 80 videos that directly mention me in the fucking title or thumbnail. Holy fuck! These motherfuckers have the audacity to say I'm rent-free, bro. What the fuck?
It's politics, bro! You have 3.2 thousand videos on your main... Yeah, but since I got banned from Twitch, which was like 3 years ago... You're one of the largest political streamers on Twitch! Yeah, no shit, I'm gonna be fucking talking about you, but I'm talking about your politics, not your fucking personal life. Jesus. I probably got a lot of videos talking about Asmongold now as well. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Jesus.
Bro, my own parents don't love me and think about me this much. Holy fuck, dude. Hasan loses it after getting called out beyond irresponsible. 621,000 views. This is literally about IDF bombing a hospital in Gaza, by the way. They bombed every hospital in Gaza!
Oh, he still believes that one, by the way. This video probably literally had to do with him believing in that Al-Ali hospital being bombed by the IDF, which it wasn't, which Hasan to this day maintains that it was. And the Arab version of Wikipedia says it was as well. Yeah, no shit. These are big political fucking topics.
All that remains from this commentary is the fucking ad revenue that he generated. That was the only interest he had in fucking Israel-Palestine, was to find an opportunity to be like, fuck Hasan.
What? It's just such a wild anything to avoid addressing any of the actual problems. Like, Hasan is a drama streamer. You understand that, right? He doesn't even do politics, or at least when he talks about me, he doesn't do politics. Like, you can respond with substance to any of the points I bring up, or you can just not respond at all. But to do the weird, like, oh, he's obsessed with me, oh, like you're fucking TMZ fucking Hamas over here. Jesus.
And people willingly went along with it. That's why so many people fucking left this community after October 7th, only to return later. To be like, okay, my bad. Quietly coming back to be like, okay, maybe you were kind of right, because I'm fucking finally realizing that maybe the things you said about Israel is not incorrect. What is this? You don't know the half of it? If you only knew how he mentions you daily?
Bro, this guy calls me fucking divorce deli, sex pestity, DDGG, like, what the fuck?
What the fuck is this? Oh, this is a
Hi, baby.
This is a way to track, like, search Hasan, upload date descending. This is virtually every video that he made.
This guy's like trolling through my YouTube, trying to figure out everything. Jesus Christ.
Pushing me in? Holy fuck. How many times a day is he mentioning me?
Meow.
R.I.P. Hasan chilling and streaming. This guy should be fucking worrying about his own sex charges, okay?
Like, holy shit, anything to avoid responding to the actual stuff. Oh my God. He's an actual drama streamer. Well, keep farming, little bro. Mizkif checks into the market bloodbath. Wait, why was I linked this? Oh, for the rewriters. Hasan did say to vote for Kamala, though. He literally voted for her on stream. He voted on stream, but he wouldn't tell his viewers who he voted for. Nice. He actively mobilized the viewers against him. Reporting chat is full of maggots saying fuck Biden, fuck Harris with Pepe through. Ooh, rip. Wait, this guy's... Leading up to and after the election, he has provided coverage every day of both parties' candidates and platforms, whether you like him or not. And let's be real, you're a Sex Pestiny fan. Based. His audience of ardent politics followers are perfectly capable of coming to their own conclusion on who to vote for. Why would you ever... What an unbelievably stupid statement to make. Would you endorse a candidate? No. I want my viewers to think of who they want to vote for on their own. Why the fuck would I be a politics streamer if not to try to influence... I'm called an influencer. That's our jobs. We're influencers. Why would we not want to influence them to vote for the people that we think are important to vote for? Jesus. He's a political influencer, and he's specifically not trying to influence the vote for president. It's just very interesting that Hasan fans are now trying to be rich. Like, here, yeah, this is true too. If you want to say this, well, he just wanted to let them decide on their own, blah, blah, then fine. But don't say, he did say to vote for Kamala. He voted for our stream. Then don't say that. You can't live in both worlds, my friend. My God. Also, apparently... Apparently half of our Department of Education got cut yesterday. I didn't even see this. Holy fuck. The U.S. Education Department announced Tuesday that it is cutting nearly 50% of its workforce, as President Donald Trump has proposed eliminating the agency altogether. I thought that they weren't allowed to do this unilaterally. Don't they, in order to do these big employment, fuck, what's it called? Not shuttering, not drawdowns. There's a name for... Like, I think to even fire somebody. Oh, reduction in force. I thought you needed congressional approval for reduction in force. Or maybe you don't for the Department of Education. I don't know what the particular congressional statute that authorized the Department of Education, whatever it was. Maybe they don't for this. But just as a reminder, not that you give a fuck or not that any conservatives actually care, but just a reminder, the federal government does not create curriculum for any public schools in the United States for K through 12. And not for college either, but just specifically for K through 12. The federal government doesn't make curriculum. They don't. So if you are happy that the DOE is going away, or is getting severely reduced because you're worried about curriculum, that's not on the federal government. Federal government doesn't dictate curriculum to schools. All you're going to do is just get less money now for your schools, which I guess is base. So, yeah. Why does it feel like Trump has so much power compared to Biden? Because Trump is not trying to govern. Trump is trying to be a dictator. So Trump is doing everything he can just through the singular department of the executive. And he has no concern or care whatsoever for the rule of law. So he's just, whatever he can write down, whatever he can get the executive to go full steam ahead on unilaterally, that's what he's doing. He has no concern for governance whatsoever. We don't care about the law. We don't care about good governance. You can try to push a lot of shit through, I guess. What percentage of a state's primary and secondary education revenue comes from the U.S. Department of Education? Is this true? Also, wait, when we say secondary education, that means college, right? Not just primary is K through 12, right? What percentage of a state's primary and secondary education revenue comes from the U.S. Department of Education? Red dots represent states where Trump won the majority of the electorate. Paste. I'm sorry to post this again, but I'd love an answer to this. Is it even theoretically possible that America could produce all the goods and resources locally like Trump wants? Are there even enough people to work the new jobs? Yes, we can do it, but it means we have to take away from our more productive jobs. So instead of Facebook, we'll have coal mines. Instead of Amazon or computer programmers, we'll have coal cleaners and coal sweepers. We can do it. It just sucks. And then we have to let other people do the highest value added stages at the end. Today, Destiny was watching a video with a scumfuck trying to pretend like she cared about Democrats or combating fascism that has come to the U.S. He criticized her for not endorsing Harris. However, this is a very big understatement. Brianna did not just not endorse Dems. She spent 2 years purely crying about Democrats after getting some popularity for getting fired for disgusting behavior towards the Israeli relative of a hostage. She used her new fans to explicitly campaign against Democrats. She's been promoting the Abandon Biden activist group on her social media for months and kept going until the election, including after they became Abandon Harris. She's not a typical leftist who was discouraged to vote and expressing frustrations, but still went out and told their followers to vote blue to prevent Trump. I don't even know if a typical leftist did that, but those guys had clear demands from the Democratic Party. BJG did not. She used her position to promote the one goal only, to never vote Democrat. She's either a Russian asset or an actual fantastic moron. The way she acts is inexplicable otherwise. Is it inexplainable or unexplainable? In my opinion, she's been getting those sweet rubles for years. Don't be like AOC and endorse genocide. Abandon Harris. Behazed. Pisco debated good logic on Colombia student deportation. I already know how that entire conversation would go. I can already print the entire argument from the good logic side, and it's fucking retarded. My guess is his entire argument was the reading of the statute. If you read the letter of the law, the president technically has the authority to deport people that are supporting terrorist groups. And he's going to say, in that case, every single one could be deported, which is that's such a ridiculously horrible idea, given that Hamas is the actual government in Gaza. It's just such a stupidly, ridiculously stupid stance. And I think it's very obvious. I say very obvious. It would be interesting to know, I guess, when explicitly or specifically when the law was actually passed, I guess. But when you're talking about people supporting terrorists, you probably want people not to be supporting small, discrete terrorist groups. Like, if somebody wanted to be deported, or if we wanted to deport a permanent resident because they were protesting supporting ISIS or Al-Qaeda, even though ISIS had some land, I would say, okay, sure, that makes sense. That's fine. But Hamas is in such a tricky area, being the government in Gaza, that how do you support the Palestinians in Gaza without also kind of supporting Hamas? From Hasan viewer to Asmund Rocher, now I'm a Destiny chatter. It took me 5 years to my brain develop, I guess, question what you hear and research it. That's what I learned from you. Thanks a lot. Welcome on your extremist journey. I look forward to who you will be watching next. I'm just kidding. I love you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never really thought of Trump as being a constitutionalist per se. I don't think he ever was a constitutionalist.
Per se. What the soft language. It's such a soft, like when you say that, do you think that Harris or Biden support the Constitution? I never really thought of President Joe Biden as being a constitutionalist per se. Motherfucker, Trump has never read a single word in the Constitution in his entire fucking life. Okay?
So as far as him being like, in favor of this amendment or that amendment, I mean, it's just not what his MO has ever been. But I think the claim that this has anything to do with the First Amendment violation is kind of silly.
Why do you think it's silly?
Well, basically you have here is a guy who's coming to America to be an agitator, and he's technically
coming to America to be an agitator. Was there proof of that? Like, he was sent here or he came here with the explicit goal of just being a pro-Hamas? That's a lot of work for a green card? A green card just to be an agitator, bro? I don't even think did the Al-Qaeda hijackers, did those guys even have green cards or were they here on visa? I'm curious. I'm actually curious. Oh, no, wait. They had passports. Those guys were deep cover. They were in deep cover, right? They might have been U.S. citizens. Okay. 9/11 hijackers. Hold on, I'm curious how many of those. I don't know how much of this is true or not because I haven't deep dug into any of this. But is it actually true that like one of the hijackers, when they were doing lessons on flying, that they told the instructor like, oh no, I'm not really worried about the landing part, or he didn't care about like learning to land that well? There's no way that's true, right? I don't remember. I feel like I heard that before. I'm going to ask this question, but I can't find anything on Google anymore. How many of the 9/11 hijackers were permanent residents or citizens? I feel like if I would have Googled this question like 5 years ago, I would have gotten like a link to give an answer. None of the 9/11 hijackers were permanent residents or citizens of the U.S. They were all foreign nationals entered on non-immigrant visas. Oh, is that true? Okay. Oh, wait, here we go. Whole 90 were foreign nationals who were in the U.S. on non-immigrant visas. Okay, so none of them had green cards. All right, we're just curious.
In violation of regulations that would enable him to obtain a green card. Now, does that mean you can? Meaning, I'm referring specifically to 8 U.S.C. 1182 A, which says that individuals who engage in the actions of endorsing or espousing terrorist activity, which he is on tape, he's on video doing, that they're ineligible for a green card. Someone can make an argument and say that there's a difference between being eligible for a green card and stripping a green card away, and I think that that's a fair distinction. I think that that's a reasonable distinction to make. Meaning, if he had conducted that activity before getting a green card, in that case, that'd be a basis to deny him one. One could argue that's not a basis to strip him of it. So, to that
well, I think there are two different laws that go over the difference between what can cause a denial of a green card and what can cause a revocation of one. But
extent, I think that you can say he's pushing that regulation. He's giving it a new layer, saying not only is it a basis.
Also, can I just for a microsecond, and I understand, okay, I get it. Let me take a brief moment. I get it. Okay, they're Muslims. They're scary. brown people, okay, confusing names. I get it. Okay, I do get that. However, these are our like First Amendment free speech fucking warriors, champions, okay? Our free speech warriors and champions. And you're going to tell me that certain types of protests, like fuck. Do I want to make this assumption? I'm trying to think if I've debated. Has Good Logic given an opinion on like the J6 people? I'm curious if he defended the J6 people being pardoned, or if he thinks that that should have all been like freedom of speech as well or whatever. Or if he was a guy, yeah, like these are some of our, usually conservatives are like our biggest freedom of speech offenders when it's about them. But now for this guy, supported Hamas? Get him out of here. Deport him. Get him out of here. Okay.
To keep someone from having a green card, but it's also a basis to strip it away. Which that's a question really more of immigration law than it is of First Amendment rights.
Oh my God!
Well, what do you mean?
So,
I mean, can we interrogate that just a little bit? So you would agree? I think that you would agree. So we're not talking about any criminal activity or criminal basis of deportation. So we can ignore that for now, right?
Right.
If there was a criminal case, I assume he would have been charged. He has been criminally charged.
Right. So let's just focus on these security-related, terrorism-related bases of deportation. Now, I think that you would agree that there is no evidence that he himself has engaged in terrorist activity. Fair?
I haven't seen any evidence that he's engaged.
Okay.
And that would also be a crime. He's not been charged. So
right.
I would assume
that would also be a crime. I would assume that would be a crime because terrorist activity, as defined in the statute, usually either maps onto the place of where the jurisdiction is, or to the United States or the states. So I assume it would be a crime as well. And so we're only talking about the basis of removal here, either this kind of determination made by the secretaries that he's a national security threat, or that he is a representative of an organization that endorses or espouses terrorist activity. I'm going to assume, for the sake of this argument...
No, not part of an organization, that he himself individually has.
Okay, that he...
He's going out and cheered and trumpeted October 7th.
That's speech.
Certainly a terrorist activity.
Speech.
And I'm not sure if I saw him actually calling for it to be duplicated again. But basically, he's been very open in displaying his endorsement.
Also, real quick, this is also why I don't believe any of you motherfuckers, and I don't give any credence to the motherfuckers that they're like, Europe doesn't have freedom of speech, but America does. It's like, what is freedom of speech? Oh, you should be able to say anything you want. But all of a sudden, you better fucking believe that, like, when Muslims are involved or certain groups are involved, well, now all of a sudden we gain a much more nuanced and three-dimensional view of what freedom of speech actually means. Well, hold on. He was cheering for something that was a terrorist attack. Should that really be a protected thing? It's like, what? He's not even doing a crime.
Of the events of October 7th.
I'm going to assume, for the sake of this argument, that he is, and that he himself is endorsing and espousing support for... endorsing or espousing terrorist activity or support for a terrorist organization in Hamas, right? So for the purpose of this conversation, I'm assuming that that's been established, okay?
Okay, right.
So don't you agree that in the United States, as to a citizen, and we'll get to the green card holder, as to a citizen, the First Amendment protects our right to endorse or to espouse or agree with the morality of October 7th. The First Amendment protects that speech or belief.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yep.
100%. So,
and the actions too. No? Well, Pisco's building the argument. Sorry, I'm just being unhinged. But like, as an American citizen, it's not illegal for me to say I think October 7th was fucking based, okay? It's disgusting, as everything fucking Hasan says is, and it is disgusting. That's your First Amendment right as an American citizen to say that stuff. Of course it is. Abso-fucking-lutely, that is your First Amendment right.
If there were a law that restricted access to certain government benefits under established First Amendment principles on the basis of your support for October 7th, that would be problematic from a First Amendment perspective. Fair?
One more time? Say that. I want to make sure
that if the government, say, for example, imposed some kind of burden on you or tried to charge you based on your First Amendment belief that and statement that October 7th was justified, that would have problematic implications from a First Amendment perspective. Obviously, maybe it's different when it's like you're a government employee and you're fired, or you're like in a school, right? So I'm just trying to incorporate whatever First Amendment principles tend to apply to this specific belief, which is support for October 7th.
Also, my subreddit mod is saying me this. This is also scary too. Think about the implications here, okay? Because remember, and I'm going to keep reiterating this, okay? Terrorist groups are weird today because in the past, we typically did think of terrorist groups as like non-state actors. They're not really people that hold lands or do governments. They're just like small groups of crazy radical people, or large groups of crazy radical people. But they're not like administrators to states, okay? We live in a world now where, okay, a week ago, Ansar Allah, which is supposed to be the name of the formal name for the Houthis, I guess, or because I think Al-Houthi, I think it was a family. So Ansar Allah is like the name of the group now, I guess, or the government, right? This is like a government of northern Yemen, right? Are the Houthis. Well, the president has now designated the Houthis as a terrorist group. So now if I'm out there protesting in favor of Yemen or the Houthis in Yemen, that also means I can be deported if I'm a green card holder? Like, how many people could he designate as foreign terrorists? What if the relationship between Ukraine and the United States deteriorates so much that Trump designates the Ukrainian government or the Azov battalion as a terrorist entity, right? Could you be deported for protesting in support of Ukraine? I don't know. Destiny, this argument is so bad faith. Being pro-Yemen and pro-Houthi is such a fucking difference. Yeah, hop on the train, dipshit. I'm not saying that all of Yemen are ran by the Houthis. That's why I said the North Yemen government, okay? I'm just saying that when non-state actors, when terrorist groups are now states, it's just a very weird world that has very weird First Amendment implications. If you want to protest in support of the Houthis, again, I disagree with you. You should have that right as a citizen and as a green card holder. You shouldn't be getting deported for that. That's crazy.
So you're saying basically the government cannot pass a law that would burden you for espousing values that they disagree with.
Right.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. I mean that's part of the First Amendment. I agree with
that. So now we have the question is like, okay, he's a green card holder.
I mean, philosophically, I think the notion that our civil rights, and this is something that I recognize the Supreme Court has disagreed with me on this, but I think philosophically it's wholly illogical to assume that civil rights should apply in any way, shape, or form to people who are not citizens of the United States the way they would apply to citizens.
Seriously, permanent residents don't have any rights afforded to them, or they have a different set of rights afforded to them? Come on, really? Seriously? Really? We're going with that one? Okay.
But even going with the Supreme Court's perspective on it rather than mine.
Wait, you think a non-citizen should be able to be tortured?
Or even, was Antifa ever designated as a terrorist group? Can Trump designate local people, domestic people as domestic terrorists? Like officially? I'm not sure. Like what if Antifa was designated as a terrorist group? Now if you're a green card holder, you could be deported? Like that's just crazy.
Under the it's constitutional to torture non-citizens?
You're trying to pick the most extreme example possible.
No shit, because he's testing the principle. What do you mean? No shit, he's picking extreme examples. What do you think? That's how laws are written. Yeah, of course. What is the what is your limiting principle in this law? Like, how much could this be abused? Like, what do you mean?
I'm saying, and what I'm saying to you is, I don't think that you want to tell me that torture is unethical. That's one thing. That's very different from saying that there's the same protections for free speech, for the right to have a gun.
I'm saying when the Constitution. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're trying to give the most extreme example, and I don't know. I mean, there could be specific regulations that America might, as far as an issue of morality, come to a conclusion.
Second, the video window / overlay on top of the chat would be perfect. It's not going to be big enough, though. I mean, I can put it up here if you want. If you think so. There you go. Oh, I guess it's the same size. Fuck it. Oh, because the chat's smaller now. Oh, well, there you go.
conclusion that it's appropriate to extend certain levels of cruel and unusual punishment with respect to people who are non-citizens. But just to make a blanket statement that it's the exact same privileges as American citizens have is philosophically flawed.
Well, I think the Constitution is clear when it's giving rights to citizens as opposed to non-citizens. So, for example, it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It says, as opposed to other places, in the privileges or immunities clause that specify the privileges or immunities.
The lefty quoting the Second Amendment to me is.
Well,
you think Pisco's anti-Second Amendment, or what do you mean? What is the joke there? Wow, a conservative talking about the First Amendment to me. LOL. Sorry.
Well, it's true. It doesn't say these are smart lawyers who drafted our Constitution. They know the difference between citizen and person. And there are places where they say citizen, and there are places where they say person or people, or they even refer themselves to the government body. In the case of the First Amendment, it says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. So, if they meant it only to apply to citizens, why didn't they write it when they write it in other places?
I mean, I don't think it ever was considered to apply to them, because they're making a constitution for the citizens of the United States. It's by the people, of the people, for the people. The whole point,
for the people.
Yeah, the people who are citizens of the United States. It's by the people.
No. I mean,
the people.
Think about it. They were very conscious of the citizenship issue. They talked about who has the right of naturalization, or to make rules about naturalization. That's Congress. They put a citizenship requirement in the for various different positions in the federal government, with the expectation, doubtless, that there would be both citizens and people in the country who are not citizens. I mean, it couldn't be the case that they weren't thinking about it.
They didn't specifically carve out citizens and say.
The lawyers who show Modesty streams have completely black-pilled me on the profession, to be honest, other than Pisco. I mean, it's just like any other profession. You get people who have, you study a lot to pass the bar, but then afterwards, I mean, you probably forget a lot of it because you never use it. There's no point in it, right?
That it doesn't apply to people who are not citizens. What I'm saying is, when you're making a constitution that's designed to be by the people, of the people, for the people, it's very clearly that at least one or two of those are referring specifically to citizens. And yet for one reason or another, the whole purpose to our Bill of Rights is to protect us from government. The point being, you're putting you collectively, meaning you, the American people, are going to be putting these people in charge of you. You're going to be giving these people powers and privileges that extend beyond the everyday citizen. And we want to make sure that when you're putting them in that position of power, that they're not going to use that to abuse you, the people. That's the whole point. That you, the people, are not going to be abused by you.
But you, the people, isn't citizens. You, the citizens. You, the people, are the people of the United States. That's broader than the citizens of the United States.
Of course not. Who's electing them? The point is, when we're putting you in power, we're not giving you jurisdiction to have an illegal search and seizure. We're not giving you a jurisdiction to have cruel and unusual punishment of the people who are putting you in power. But to say that the American government should be hamstrung compared to other governments, and basically say, oh, we're going to have the exact same civil liberties for anyone who's a non-citizen, even though if you were an American and you went to a foreign country, you wouldn't be getting those civil liberties from that government, but that we're going to hamstring our own government.
What does that even mean? That was the comparison? The United States government being created by our brilliant founding fathers, copy-pasting all the other freedoms afforded to other citizens, or that you would get from other governments. What?
Government from being able to protect the people, which is why the government's there in the first place. But we're going to hamstring them from doing that with respect to people who are not American citizens. Seems philosophically.
So it's your position that the Constitution did not protect individuals other than citizens at the framing?
I want to be clear with you. The Supreme Court has extended it to non-citizens. I'm not blind. I'm a lawyer. I understand what the Supreme Court has said. I simply think that it's fundamentally and philosophically flawed.
So what do you think about the fact that many women, don't have citizenship at the founding, that when they're married, the doctrine of coverture, right, erased their individual personhood and citizenship, and they became kind of merged with the male? Do you think that women are not protected?
That's what the Constitution says? Constitution says that they lose their personhood. Is that? Because I haven't read that part of the Constitution.
No, but that was a common practice of individuals at the framing, that women were not.
We're having a constitutional conversation.
It feels scary listening to this because it feels like laws and amendments can just be justified to be broken. I mean, I guess it shows that the Nazis got to power in Germany or anywhere, right? Of course, yeah. I mean, for the to sound the alarm on that for the 50 trillionth time. All of these legal systems and frameworks only work insofar as the people who are interpreting them and adhering to them are operating in good faith. There is no such thing as some foolproof system of laws and checks and balances that can protect you against somebody who fundamentally doesn't believe conceptually in the underpinnings of your system, right? You'll always be able to find loopholes or ways to break it or fuck it up.
Yeah, we're having a constitutional conversation.
As far as decisions that were made.
So what is your basis? What is your basis
that I'm unfamiliar with?
What is your historical evidence that, in fact, these individual rights were meant not to apply to non-citizens when they use the term persons, people?
I thought we went through this. What is the purpose of government? Why do we have government?
I don't know. There are a lot of different
Who's
purposes.
setting up our government? Why do we have it? Why do we have a government at all? Why?
Is he going to say, Pisco shouldn't even agree with this. We have a government for a lot of different reasons. The ultra idealistic, not even idealistic, it's just the simplistic, naive, childlike notion from conservatives is we just have a government to protect our rights. We have a government for a lot of reasons. The government facilitates relationships with the United States to the rest of the world. It divvies up like the powers between the federal and the state governments to give them different things to exercise jurisdiction over. I mean, if you want, you can, at the end of the day, boil it all down to it's just here to protect our rights. But like that's such a reductionist, abstract thing. It's, I mean, like you could argue totalitarian regimes in a way are there to protect the right of a citizen. You know, like Hitler was trying to protect the rights of Germans to pursue their, you know, conquest of the world and to have a place for a living, breathing, what is it, the living land or the breathing space for the German population to grow. Like that's what the government's here to protect. Like that's it, you know, like dumb.
To maximize good benefits for people.
Oh, okay, fine. And fundamentally in there, it's to ensure that the American people are well protected and provided for. Right? I mean, that they're basically not provided for.
There are a lot of different purposes. Reasonable minds can disagree. Reasonable minds can disagree. I'm sure reasonable minds of the founding disagreed.
So what do you think is the reason?
Historically, or my reason?
Any reason? Why did America, when we first broke our independence, why have a government at all?
I would cite...
Careful, because when we first broke our independence, our federal government sucked. We had the Articles of Confederation, which sucked ass. Hold on.
Madison said...
That just needs to read the chat a little bit and shrink the video slightly, and it's actually perfect mobile viewing / clipping. You want me to shrink the video so that it's like takes up the same like horizontal space as chat? Like this? But then it's even smaller. Then the people who are actually watching the stream can't even fucking see it. I feel like it should be this size. Stay mad. Get fucked.
If men were angels, no government would be necessary. That's my, the fact that men are not angels, we need government.
So it's to protect American citizens from the non-angels, from the demons.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that government
is
made...
You just quoted Madison.
Wait,
you just quoted Madison.
I just quoted...
I didn't pick Madison. You gave me a quote I didn't know before.
Wait, I quoted Madison. Madison, who said if men were angels, no government would be necessary. Didn't say citizens.
Okay. Implicitly, so we need government because men are not angels.
Okay, so do you read into the fact that at various different places the Constitution says citizenship specifically, and at other places it says persons? Do you read into that fact?
You want to sit there?
Sure, Gulag. I can't tell if you're agreeing with me or disagreeing with me, but that's my argument. So if leftists or the far right got into power and designated the IDF as a terrorist group, anyone supporting the IDF could have their green card taken. Seems like a slippery slope. I wouldn't call. Don't use the term slippery slope. That would just directly, logically follow, right? Like imagine the IDF was designated as a terrorist group. Well, now can you not support Israel? Are you going to be kicked out of the country for it? Yeah, it's a ridiculous. Swap the video with the gameplay. Nobody's watching you play anyway. Excuse me.
as persons. Do you read into that fact?
You want to sit there and try to shoehorn in that because you have to be a citizen in order to be elected president of the United States.
Not just there. The 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says, for example, that persons are, who have the protection have equal protection, and that the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, that those are the privileges or immunities that states cannot disparage. So it seems in the very amendment, the 14th Amendment, let's say, as just was one example, there's an acknowledgement that citizenship is not coextensive with personhood.
Well, the 14th Amendment is specifically addressing the issue of citizenship. That's why it was drafted. So at that point, now
I'm actually curious with the 1 to 2 balancer you have on your bus. I'm trying to take a screenshot of it. What are you talking about? You mean stuff like this? This balancer exists so that one lane on the left or right, like one half of the lane, doesn't get fully occupied, and then the other half can't, like imagine that this is full of stuff on the left, okay, and then it hits up on your lane here because it's being sucked from some other thing up there, right? All this does is it makes it so that both sides of the belt can constantly deposit onto a single lane to fill up a lane. I don't know if that made sense. I suck at explaining that.
We're 80 years later, and they're trying to basically wrap their heads as to what they want to constitutionally bind in there with respect to citizenship. So that's not really the same thing as the Bill of Rights, right?
Well, I don't know. The First Amendment seems to have an implication on the Bill of Rights. You seem to think, for example,
there was no one alive.
Wait.
None of the founders were alive when the 14th Amendment was written. Can we agree on that?
Agreed on that. So agreed on that. But you seem to think, for example, that it would be against the First Amendment for states to infringe on free speech. Fair?
Yes.
Well, the First Amendment clearly says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech.
That's right.
So clearly,
that's right.
Oof. Wait, which amendment? What's it called? I should know this. Incorporation. Constitution amendment. Isn't there an amendment that incorporates a lot of the federal stuff into the? Oh, I think it might be the 14th. The 14th Amendment's a due process clause. Incorporates a lot of basically all the federal stuff into a lot of the state stuff in terms of protection of rights.
14th Amendment affects the First Amendment.
It was refined over time. Look, you don't need to prove to me that non-citizens have Bill of Rights protections. I already conceded the fact that the Supreme Court has recognized.
But you seem to be like, oh, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
No, I'm conceding. I think it's philosophically flawed. I'm conceding that is the law. Okay. So I'm not blind to what the existence of the law is.
So we can move on then, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is it about? So if a green card holder, if there were a law that said,
let me ask you this. So the argument I think you're making to me, I think the argument you're trying to make to me is this. I think you're trying to make to me the argument.
You see Noah's Ethan Nuke response? Noah Sampson, I didn't watch it. We might watch it today, though. We'll see.
That by burdening Khalil Mahmoud by saying you cannot have this speech, and since you engaged in this speech, we're stripping your green card. So now that's dropping a burden on him, right? That's
it's
the way that Congress and the federal government
a category
How do
of
you switch
restriction
weapons? I
or
forgot.
penalty on the basis of protected speech. Correct.
So my question for you is this: let's say he was applying for a green card now. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the government would have a right to keep him out?
I think that's different, and I'll tell you why. Now, ultimately, I think the answer that I would give is it depends on that. It depends on where he is physically, geographically. But you understand, I think you would, that an application for admission from outside the country is different than someone who has already received a benefit while inside the country having that benefit removed, torn from them, and then being deported. So I would, if you're asking me my personal opinion, I would say that the government, from a posture of admission, which is what a green card application would be. It's an application for admission. If that were the case and you were outside of the country, I think there's very little that you could argue that you would have any kind of substantive rights as a foreign citizen.
Right, First Amendment right. First Amendment right.
But once you're inside this country, geographically, I think that this is my opinion. I think that changes substantially. Just like we don't apply First Amendment rights to foreign corporations, That changes if you're incorporated inside the United States. And it also applies, I think, differently to certain individuals with significant ties to the country. And that would include, in my opinion, at a bare minimum, U.S. citizens and green card holders who are abroad coming back inside. So that's all a way of me saying it's a little bit more complicated from the posture of admission than it is from exclusion or deportation. But in general, if anything is going to be protected, it'll be this.
All right. So what I'm saying is, so that's exactly the gray area that Trump has now walked into, because you seem to implicitly be accepting the fact that a restriction on your First Amendment rights is acceptable for keeping someone out.
No. So sorry. Real important distinction there, that it would not be a First Amendment infringement necessarily, as applied to
my
people
grenades
because they don't have any standing to raise those constitutional claims for outsiders, non-LPRs outside of the country trying to come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't, you're the one making the argument. So
how do you not understand that? That's such an obvious argument, right? If you're outside of the United States, what standing do you have? Meaning, are you under the jurisdiction of, and can a court hear, or can somebody hear on your rights as an American? You have none. You're not an American citizen. You're not part of this country. And then if you are, but if you're in the United States, well, it changes significantly now. And if you're, especially if you're a lawful permanent resident, right? Yeah.
I'm making so I'm asking if you understand it, right? So, if for example, a foreign corporation trying to raise First Amendment arguments in the United States, that foreign corporation can't raise First Amendment claims. It doesn't have. It's not a First Amendment issue, right?
Yeah.
It's outside of the category of the First Amendment. The First Amendment.
This is one of the reasons why also it's like silly when people say that Israel is not a democracy because of their because they don't let a certain type of people into the country. Bro, fuck me. How you run your immigration policy has nothing to do with the people that are inside of your country. These are like separate things, you know, like the United States has restrictions on how much from a certain country, people are allowed into the country, right? Like you wouldn't, like ethnostates are usually showing preferential treatment to different ethnicities inside of a country, not just determining how you run your immigration law.
It doesn't extend beyond the borders of the United States towards to foreign entities, for example. I would cabin that with respect to U.S. citizens and LPRs, that U.S. citizens and LPRs from a foreign posture coming in might have a different standing there. But I'm willing to
look at
accept.
you being so fair, Citizens United. Here we go.
What's that? Yeah, wait a second. So
you're making.
I think that this is totally. I think this is totally reasonable that there are some groups of people in the world for whom the First Amendment does not apply. I think you agree with that.
Yep.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I think we already apply it too broadly as it is.
Okay,
but
the difference is for LPRs who are inside the country where the First Amendment absolutely does apply, we're in a different world. Just like the due process clause doesn't necessarily apply for people who want to get hearings outside of the country trying to come in. That might be a matter of grace for America to do. But once you're inside the country, you're entitled to procedures, especially if you're an LPR. If they're going to deport you.
You're saying you're entitled. The term LPR that you keep using, what is that a reference to?
It's okay. You don't have to know every fucking abbreviation or whatever, I guess. It's weird not to know it in this context. So LPR is lawful permanent resident, as a green card holder. But Pisco said this a lot. And he had no idea what he was referring to anytime he said it. This reminds me of I used to talk about this for Melina. Melina's pretty smart and she can piece together a lot of like what a word means if she just doesn't know the word because English was her second language. But there were times when I'd say something, I could tell she didn't know the word. And for me, especially if we're talking like politics or something like a little bit more theoretical or conceptual, like if you don't know the word, just ask me and I'll tell you. Don't try to context it or, you know, and figure out what it means because I don't know if you're going to understand everything I'm saying now. How many times has Pisco said LPR here? And the other guy had no idea what LPR meant. That's whatever. It's not a huge thing, but
lawful permanent resident.
Oh, okay.
Does he know what lawful permanent resident means? Green card holder, lawful permanent resident, right?
At one point you were talking about corporations. I wasn't sure what you meant by that. So a lawful permanent resident, you're saying, should have the exact same protections. And what I'm saying to you is it's not a citizen. And in the same way you can keep a citizen out, I think you can make an argument that that you need to maintain the same conduct while you have a green card that you would need to have to get the green card. I think that's an immigration issue. I mean, why? Because because if you're coming here and you're claiming that you have a basis to be here and that you're an acceptable individual to the United States, it's not like once you get in, then you can run amok, and that those obligations, which were a prerequisite for your admission, no longer apply to you because once I pass the hurdle on day X,
is that true of naturalized
now
citizens?
I no longer have to maintain that.
Is that true of naturalization? Is that true of naturalization?
Our school teaches to not ask dumb questions. It's the education system. Really? I thought teachers always said there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Not sure. Frankly, it's not. I mean, you're saying once someone is naturalized, that's a date X?
Yeah. So you have to do certain things to become naturalized.
Oh, that was a really good argument from Pisco. True. So if you're saying that the requirements for getting a green card are the same as not being revoked, not having your green card revoked, what about when you become naturalized? Because now you can do even more bad things and not get kicked out. That's true.
Ilhan Omar, for example, she takes her oath of fidelity to the United States when she gets naturalized, right? And then she starts engaging in conduct that some people would say is not showing an oath of fidelity to the United States, but showing fidelity to her native home country, right?
Yeah.
So do I think that that's a basis to strip her of her citizenship? No, I don't.
Okay.
I wish it would be.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Maybe, I guess. Okay.
I wish it would be. What I'm saying is
because you're an anti-free speech goblin.
No, I'm not an anti-free speech goblin. What I'm saying is, if you're taking an oath of fidelity to the United States, how stupid is it that it's a 10-second oath, which doesn't have to mean anything, and literally 3 minutes after you make the oath, if you break the oath, there's nothing that can be done to you. I mean, how logical is that? Do you tell me is that actually sensible type of policy that literally 3 minutes you can make your oath, walk out of the building, and then just start screaming "Death to America"? And you just 3 minutes early made an oath that you're pledging your loyalty to America, but basically that you should look is.
So does he think ordinary Americans that say things like that should have their citizenship stripped and they could be deported as stateless citizens, or does it mean that ordinary Americans have more rights? Or I'm sorry, would it be people who were born U.S. citizens have more rights than naturalized citizens? Which is funny because a naturalized citizen has to go through way more work to become a citizen, but okay.
Is that an ongoing oath? Clearly.
You're asking me what's sensible, what's not sensible, and I'll try to answer. I just want to say real quick, IRI, thank you very much for the raid. You guys, IRI, the best C-SPAN channel there is. You're going to want to watch it. So I just want to be clear. What's sensible, what's not sensible is not the basis under which I make constitutional determinations. It's not very sensible to go through all this like different, hemming and hawing with respect to gun rights a lot of the times, right? It's like, it's very...
Hold on, just doing a quick check, okay? On the DLC for space on Factorio, are you only supposed to spawn with a singular fucking... or like two small iron ore deposits near you, and there are just none on the fucking planet? Hello?
Burdensome to go through a trial to convict someone that you know is guilty. It's very burdensome. Is it really sensible for us to have to sit here?
No, that is all sensible though. Every bit of that is sensible. Every bit of that is a logical explanation. It might be frustrating in the moment, but it's logical why you have to have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. See, that's all. There's good logic.
Good
there.
logic.
So saying, no, I mean it makes sense. What I'm simply saying is, at the end of the day,
maybe it makes sense to have cutoffs. Maybe it makes sense to have cutoffs.
You want to try and term this as a constitutional issue. What I'm saying is, the question as to whether or not it's a constitutional issue or an immigration issue ultimately comes down to what is the burden of someone who has a green card to maintain their green card. And in fact, if they have that burden, if they have no burden, then you're right. And if they do have a burden, then you're wrong. It's really that simple.
So I'm asking you, right? So do you think that green card holders should have first?
I'm not an immigration lawyer specialist, but to me, this feels like an immigration issue.
Do you think that green card holders have First Amendment rights?
When I say they have First Amendment rights, it's a good question.
Jeez. Okay. Damn. We have to think about that one. Okay.
I think anyone who visits here has a First Amendment right.
Okay.
What?
Okay, so do green card holders have First Amendment rights?
Then how does he?
Yeah, I think that while they're in the country, probably.
Okay, so here's a question
Probably,
for
they
you.
probably do.
If Congress passed a law that said, we get to deport you as a green card holder if you're Jewish, do you think that law would be constitutional?
Obviously not.
Why obviously not? It's immigration. There's terms and conditions. You can't reject them.
What does that mean?
So why do we have to?
I don't understand.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it. Why do we have to support the First Amendment with respect to the religious clauses and protect green card holders on that level?
By the way, I love that you're standing up for the First Amendment because you took a 4-year hiatus from that.
That's bullshit.
It's so cringe how these guys think that Trump, who probably fucking incited, okay, J6, who incited that whole fucking insurrection, like, oh, you guys hate the First Amendment because you're so mean to fucking Trump. And now they're like, oh, you must love the First Amendment because, oh my God, it's actually the cringiest fucking doublespeak in the universe. Holy shit.
That's complete bullshit. Also, way to try to bait me. Way to try to bait me. Way to try to bait me. I'm not going to get distracted.
Oh,
nice try.
There's a hotline from Jem Psaki to Jack Dorsey saying, take down that guy who's
nice
try. Followers. Yeah, so you're like,
nice.
oh no, this is like rolling their private company. They're private companies. Totally
nice try. Wait. No, we'll get to that. We'll get to my alleged hypocrisy. I'm not going to ignore it. But the question's on the table. Nice. It was a really nice try, Joe. Really,
that's not a nice try.
It is a nice try. It is a nice try to bait.
Will you admit the fact? Will you admit the fact that the Biden administration was the worst abuser of First Amendment rights?
It's actually unbelievable how delusional these guys are. The Biden admin was the worst administration on First Amendment rights. What?
No, I won't. It will address. No, I won't.
The way Judge Terry, I didn't say it. A judge
no, I
won't.
won't.
Farm, that's what they said. They said
the Twitter
is clearly the worst abuse of First Amendment rights this country has ever seen.
No, I won't.
And you're telling me, no. Let's
nice
sit
try.
About Trump with his First Amendment rights. Oh, let's.
Nice try. Nice try, Joe. We will definitely.
Let's try.
We will talk about.
What I'm saying to you is, at the end of the day, it comes down to a simple factor: do you need to maintain the same standard while you're here as a green card as you need to have when you're applying for a green card? It's really that simple. Now we have to have sort of a cutoff date. You can understand with a naturalized person, an Ilhan Omar example, you sort of have to have a cutoff date that, hey, this is a citizen. We're not going to be following them around to see are they breaking their own. So what are you going to do? So it's basically it's pragmatically impracticable to actually try and monitor whether people are maintaining their oath of fidelity. And it makes sense to say, look, this is a citizen. They're naturalized. They're a full citizen now, and treat them the same as every other citizen. And I say, God bless. They went through the whole process. I'm sure it was very burdensome and tiresome, exhausting, and they have those rights. And even if I can't stand that individual, I think they're destructive to America, like an Ilhan Omar. I still
like
say
Donald Trump.
that crazy bitch is an American citizen. And she's afforded all the same protections as you and me. Now, that's very different from a green card holder, though.
Oh, okay, can we talk about it? Because I understand you're very angry at Joe Biden, and I'm happy to talk about.
I'm not angry at Joe Biden. I mean,
I'm not going to get distracted.
I'm really not going to get distracted. I don't think he knew what the hell was happening for 4 years.
I know exactly what my question is, and I'm going to go back to it. I just want to let you know.
So let's go.
All right, so just to be clear, I will address
I got
this allegation.
I got 10 minutes left.
I know you do. I know you do. Yes, and I'm sure it'll be a great show. I will address it though afterwards. That said, the question's on the table. Do you think it would be permissible, constitutional, for the government to pass a law that says if you are a member of the Jewish faith, you can be deported by the government? If you're a green card holder, if the government passed that law, do you think it would be constitutional?
That if you're a member of the Jewish faith, No.
No. Why? Because the First Amendment protects even green card holders from these kinds of religious tests, just like the First Amendment with respect to speech protects green card holders in the same exact
Let me
way.
ask you a question, Pisco. Pisco, I can ask back the exact same question at you, brother. The exact same question at you. If they said to get a green card, you have to reject Judaism, do you think that would be something that would be constitutional? Answer: no. So you can't compare the religion, but yet you admitted that there are certain things of speech that would keep you out. So you can't compare free speech with freedom of religion with respect to admission into this country, because you yourself would recognize there's a distinction
just got owned.
between
I have no
saying
idea
we're not
how.
going to have black people here,
I don't
we're
know
not
how
going to
that
have
relates to anything.
Muslims
I
here,
just know that Pisco
or whatever
got
other, we're not going to have
absolutely
redheaded
destroyed.
Irish people here. That all that crap would be completely unconstitutional, even for admission to getting a green card. So that's why your analogy here is rather poor.
So wait. So you think that people applying for admission have a First Amendment right not to have their a religious test applied to their admission?
I think that.
So they do have First Amendment rights. So non-citizens applying from outside of the country have First Amendment rights.
I don't know if we would call that First Amendment rights, or if it's. Frankly, I sort of need to research to figure out exactly what basis that would just be completely beyond legality. You want to talk philosophically here now about whether or not it's
talking philosophically. I'm trying to.
Who's the holder? You're asking who's the holder of the right? Is it the individual who's a non-citizen who's the holder of a right? I don't know.
I seem to recall a case about the quote-unquote Muslim ban, and I seem to recall a given president trying to argue that I understand the Muslim ban turned out to be a country-specific ban, but I seem to recall a president who was pretty annoyed.
I recall the Muslim ban being him saying, "Whatever Obama did, that's what we're doing."
Okay, but
don't let him get away with that, Pisco. Giuliani is on record to the media. He said, Trump came to me and he asked me, how do we get a Muslim ban done? And Giuliani, I'm pretty sure, said, can't really do it. Okay. It's probably not okay. So then what Trump said was, how do we do this then? And so what Trump ended up doing, just as a real quick thing, Trump asked for a Muslim ban, Giuliani says, in order to commission to do it legally. What they ended up doing was Obama had a list of 7 countries that had heightened screening for when somebody would come from that country to either apply for a visa or to do any kind of immigration stuff. Trump took that list of 7 countries, help me with my memory here, I believe it originally included Saudi Arabia, and he banned that list. I think Saudi Arabia got really mad, and then he swapped out Saudi Arabia for some other random fucking Muslim majority country. And he was like, these are the 7 countries. People try to make it sound like Trump did the same thing Obama did. That is not true. Obama did not ban travel. Oh, was it with Yemen? Yeah. Obama did not ban travel from those 7 countries. Trump did not do the same thing that Obama did. That's just a fucking lie. Okay? That's just a fucking lie. That's a lie.
I recall the Muslim ban being him saying, whatever Obama did, that's what we're doing.
Okay, but he was angry that he wasn't able to put on. He was angry.
I don't think
his tone was different.
He was angry. He was angry that he wasn't able to.
Also, Pisco should nail on that. He was angry. His tone was different. Literally, if you try to rescind certain laws or do things legislatively or through executive order, whatever, and you are just ass pained about it, the judge will literally say, hey, you can't do this because, sir, you are ass pained, okay? Now, in legalese, it's called arbitrary and capricious. But literally, yeah, if you try to change some shit that's going to have a big impact on a bunch of stuff, but you don't even have a good fucking reason to do it, that can get shot down. That's one of the things that happened, or that was the reason why I believe it was the only thing that saved DACA, is because Trump wanted to get rid of DACA, which would have been a huge upset in a lot of federal stuff, basically. And then when the court looked at it, and they were like, okay, well, what's going on here? It seemed like he's just ass pained about, I guess, DACA kids. There's no good reason for it. It's arbitrary and capricious. You toss it. That's it. This is a thing. Yes.
orange man bad and is angry. He sent it a mean tweet. So even though the policy's identical, but it was a mean tweet in there, and that's what makes it racist.
But let's just separate this real quick. So you think that this green? So I just want to be very clear about something. You think that a green card holder, an LPR, who is citing the First Amendment within the country, can do so, but only with respect to the religious clauses and not with respect to the first speech?
No, I think you think that. I think you think there's a...
If this information from Rudy was available when he was doing the ban, couldn't have been challenged in court and repealed. It was challenged, I believe. I believe it was challenged. I don't know how far it got, but my understanding is just that the court has been very, very, very reluctant to touch the president's ability to do stuff around immigration or border security. The president, it has been seen in the Supreme Court, is just given really, really, really wide deference when it comes to matters of national security. The president has a ton of authority there, and the courts have seemed reluctant in the past to mess with it very much.
Distinction.
Whoa! Well, you seem to think there's a distinction.
No,
I'm asking
I think
you.
We're both on the same page. I'm just admitting it. You're not. That there's a vast distinction between religion and speech on this issue.
Why? They're part of the same clause.
The reason I'm saying you admit it is because we started this whole conversation off with you saying, yeah, to get in here, I can understand that someone who's espousing terrorist activity could legally be kept out of here.
Wait. So that's applying Supreme Court precedent. I don't know that case was rightly decided.
Why is that legal? Why is that legal? Don't they have a First Amendment right?
I'm following Supreme Court precedent there. That the Supreme Court precedent says that at the threshold of admission, but if you take, for example, Justice,
maybe they can't say that it's that maybe I don't know, maybe the INS can say we're not taking
the guy Pisco talking to is the one Destiny interviewed for before the DNC stuff. Yes, this is the same guy, and I've talked to him on stream before too.
Any Jews or Muslims, maybe they can. I mean,
do you think they can?
Point. It's like, what I'm saying is you're asking me what the legality of it is, and my point is you yourself recognize there's a distinction here. Do you think it would be legal? Do you think it would be legal for them to say no Muslims or Jews allowed?
That the Supreme Court expounds a standard that I am trying to say in determining whether something is legal or not legal. I think it's highly relevant what the Supreme Court has said in the past, and the Supreme Court has said
I didn't dispute that.
Okay.
No, go on. What did they tell me what they said? The relevant part.
So the Supreme Court has said at the threshold of admission that there's a very low threshold or very low test for whether or not a restriction on your entry into the country, which they see as a pure act of grace, whether that is unconstitutional. It's basically at the discretion of the political branches.
What's the case?
The case is Trump versus Trump versus Hawaii. There's cases Mazzei. That's another case. It's Harisides or is another. There are a bunch of. I have the cases. Don't try to fucking test me, bro. You know I have the cases.
No. I want to know. Read it. I'm not testing you. I want to look it up. So my question is
Trump versus Hawaii.
Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me that it would be illegal for Biden or Trump to pass a law banning Muslims or Jews from coming into the country?
I think it would be.
Okay, I agree with you there. Do you agree with me that it's completely legal for them to say, hey, if this person's giving pro-terrorist speeches, that we're not going to give you a green card? Do you think that's legal?
I think that under current precedent, it probably is legal. But I don't know.
Okay.
I don't necessarily. Yeah.
No. So you're already recognizing a distinction between religion and speech, because they can't ban you for your religion, but they can ban you for speech. So even though they're both thrown into the First Amendment together, you cannot just analogize the two of them together because you and I are both on the same page.
Wait. Just because the First Amendment doctrine, that there's a split here in terms, potentially split between speech and religion. You still have to analyze them under their respective tests. So it could be the case that this First Amendment activity, that there is a compelling purpose of, applying the actual test from the First Amendment, which is strict scrutiny, that kind of speech passes. That strict scrutiny, for in the case of applicants from outside of the country coming into the country, that it passes strict scrutiny, and that the religious tests don't. So it could be the case.
Maybe that'll happen.
So just to be clear, just because you have a different result with respect to application of a First Amendment principle in speech versus religion doesn't mean that you don't apply those principles in those cases. So I hope that makes sense, right? Did what I just say make sense?
What you're, I think, what I'm trying to get from what you're throwing down now is that it really is the same. It's just that the ban on Muslim and Jews is so ridiculously egregious that would be like banning someone for saying that they like the Red Sox. Like it's
right. So imagine. So if there is, as you are aware, if there's a speech regulation that affects pure political speech, it could be the case that that's nonetheless justified because of strict scrutiny. It passes the test that the Supreme Court itself has laid out. So it could be the case that the Supreme Court, if cleanly given one of these like very ridiculous cases where you say I like the Red Sox, that met with that it wouldn't pass muster under strict scrutiny, and it could be that the outright religious ban on entry of aliens into the country that would also not pass strict scrutiny, but you're still applying the highest tests of each First Amendment principle. That's all to say it's neither here nor there. I'm trying to make the case for within the United States where we agree the First Amendment standards are much higher. I think you and I both agree on that. Maybe you could say they're kind of there outside the country, but we're talking about LPR, someone who has significant ties to the country, someone who has access to due process rights to be ejected from the country. They have access to a trial by jury for criminal convictions. They can't be tortured. They can't just be randomly killed.
Every person under American authority has a right to a trial. You can't even. That applies to everyone. It's not even in the country.
And you said that green card holders have a right to free speech because you said even visitors have a right to free speech.
That's true. They do have a right to free speech. I just don't think it's. I don't think that this is an issue as far as free speech any more than it's an issue of free speech.
Wait, no. That can't be the case. So you acknowledge that it's speech at issue here.
I think it probably is speech at issue.
Yeah.
That's what we start. Yeah.
Okay. Then how is it not a free speech?
And this comes down to whether or not he has to maintain uphold the same standard. This is exactly what I said when I came in here. I laid down exactly where our line of dispute is, and nothing you've said has contradicted that in the slightest. I laid down the line of dispute, and I started off by basically saying the question is whether this restriction that the United States is lawfully allowed to apply to people who are not in the United States in order to obtain a green card can be maintained against them while they're here with a green card. And that's really what it comes down to.
Do you have a contract with anyone other than Kick? No, who? What? I don't even have a contract with Kick.
And if they can, if they can make sure he maintains it, in that case, Trump is 100% in the right. And if they cannot make sure that he maintains it, in that case, he's in the wrong. And Khalil Mahmoud is going to come back in here.
What makes you think that a green card holder with permanent ties to this country, who lives in this country, is on the same footing as a non-green card holder applying for green card status? What makes you think that that's the same thing?
I think it's not a citizen. I think he's still.
But you yourself said that even visitors to this country who come temporarily to this country have First Amendment rights. What does that First Amendment right mean?
I think logic dictates, and I really do need to go. I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm ready. But I think logic dictates that if someone's trying to get into this country and when they set foot in this country and they basically are holding themselves one way, and they reveal while they're here during the naturalization process that's all crap.
That's an issue of fraud. That's an issue of fraud.
So to me, common sense dictates that I think you're allowed to remove the guy. You don't have to stay in his company, and that's not a matter of prosecuting.
That's a question of fraud, though. What you're saying is that you're saying that we don't believe them.
Jail. You're not throwing him in jail. You're just saying, look, you don't qualify. Goodbye. We're taking away your green card.
Okay, last question, then you can go. Last question, then you can go. If there was a law that was passed by the country that said, if you support the state of Israel, we will.
Okay, nothing happened. Okay.